Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the new Cheerson CX-95S, and this is basically a scaled up version of the Inductrix FPV. If you remember that video, the Inductrix FPV had this plastic canopy that was yellow with a linear antenna and a video transmitter camera pod on top like this. However, the Cheerson CX-95S is scaled up in the sense that instead of using the 6mm motors, it's using 7 by 20 millimeter motors, so slightly larger motors and slightly larger props. These are 40 millimeter props and not the normal 30 millimeter that comes on most of the tiny whoops. And the motor to motor distance on this model is about 80 millimeters, and the motor to motor distance on a tiny whip is about 60 millimeters. And so let me bring that one of these tiny whips that I built recently into shot here, and you can see the size difference between the two. It is a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier, uses a bigger battery. This particular model that I have here is a pre-production version, so it's going to be a little bit different when it comes into production. I'll just go over what it came with. This particular model came with a small DSM-2 receiver built into it. However, this receiver requires a rebinding on every power-up. Now, I've been told that they're going to replace this receiver with a different one that doesn't require that, so it'll keep its bind between power-ups. Additionally, I believe a FreeSky version will be available, and also I think Futaba. I'll put a link in the description to where you can get this if you guys are interested. It's not actually out yet, but should be available probably within the next couple of weeks. So this pre-production version came with everything you see on the table here. You get a manual, you get a battery, you have a little battery charger, it's 1S of course, and the quad itself. The battery is a 1S 400 milliamp hour battery with a micro low C connector, and it fits in very nicely into this little section below. And I'll just slide this in here, and there's a little tab here on the front and in the back that holds the battery in place very nicely. The flight controller board that's in here is the same size as the ones on all the tiny whoops, and has a USB port here on the bottom so that you can program it. Unlike a lot of other Cheerson products, this one comes with Betaflight on board. So it's a SB Racing F3 Evo board. I'm pretty sure this is like the same one that I reviewed a while back called the Fpv F3 with the where the USB port came on the bottom. And so that's why this is unlike a lot of the other toy products from Cheerson. This one is fully programmable and flashable, just like a lot of the tiny ones out there, but with the advantage of this being completely built. Now the FPV system that's on here is very similar to the way the FPV system set up on the Inductrix FPV. You got your typical micro camera here. It's a 600 TV line Pico camera. The video transmitter is 25 milliwatts, 40 channels, and you have to change the channels through the button on the top here, just like on the Inductrix FPV. However, there's no indicator lights, so you don't know what band or channel you're on, so you have to kind of go through them one at a time. And there's obviously 8 channels per band. You short press the button to change channels, and you long press the button to change the band. It just happened to be that this one was defaulted to the Fat Shark band out of the box, so I was able to find my channel by just pressing the buttons one at a time. But there is a chart also in the manual that shows all of the bands and channels, so you can go through them one at a time. However, because there's no indicator lights, you do have to sort of do it by a little trial and error to get to the right channel that you want. Now the manual that it comes with is pretty good. It's missing one thing, however. It didn't explain how to do the binding. There's no bind button on this particular receiver. It might change in the next version or the production version that comes out. I don't know what receiver they're going to be using. But I found that it would just, when you powered it on, the bind light would just flash immediately. It would be in bind mode until you bound it to your transmitter. It wouldn't do anything, so I had to do that every time. And there were no instructions in the manual explaining how to do the binding process. But it does explain some of the configurations you have to do within Betaflight configurator. It does come with Betaflight 3.1.5 out of the box, and I'm pretty sure the PIDs in there are also the standard PIDs, which I actually flew, and you'll see that in the flight demo. It flew just fine in with the standard PIDs. I think that it could use a little bit of tuning, but the day that I flew this, it was pretty windy, and it was pretty hard to tune in the wind outside. But even with all that going on, it still flew pretty good in my opinion. One thing that I did have to change is the channel map here in Betaflight Configurator, and it has to be TAER. My radio, I think, defaulted to AETR. It was using a Tyrannus with a Spectrum module in the back, and once I did that, all the channels worked properly in the receiver section. So here's a quick look at the flight controllers in there, and if you want to swap out the receiver for either a PPM receiver or an S-Bus receiver, you could do that by just detaching the DSM receivers on there and putting on an S-Bus receiver. I may in the future put on that little micro FlySky receiver that I got recently, so maybe I'll do a video on that later. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and roll some flight footage of this. I was flying it outside in some wind, and even with those conditions and on stock PIDs, I felt it flew pretty good. I like the fact that this is fully assembled. There's really not a lot of work to do to get this to fly, and if you want to do tuning and all that kind of stuff and updates to Betaflight, those are available to you, unlike the original Inductrix FPV, which is a proprietary board with proprietary firmware. Let me know if you guys have any questions about this model, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.